This is Smashy Business Show. I'm Warid Ahmed.
And I'm Abdul Majid.
And it is Monday. It's the 10th of March. It's also the 10th day of Ramadan.
Nice.
Yeah, it's the 10th day of
count
Ramadan
it, right?
today. No, you know what, honestly, Majid? This morning, I had to count it because I've noticed that all I've been doing this Ramadan is doing work. Like, I don't think I've left any time for ibadah. So basically, ibadah is like prayer, having a deeper connection with God. So today, I had to see the number to be like, okay, I have 20 days left to make it up to God. But how are you doing, Majid? How was your weekend?
I'm good. And welcome to professional life. This is how Ramadan goes when you're in a professional world. You're always working, and especially, to be honest, 15 years now as a journalist, nearly 15 years. And yes, this happens. To be honest, the very first time I went into journalism, the very first course, the very first class, the very first day in the university, and the teacher was like, the course was Introduction to Media Studies.
Yeah.
And the very first sentence that came out of his mouth was, everyone can do what you do, but you can't do what everyone does. So you have to be the most perfect media person, journalist, production guy, anything in the world to be the best in your field. And I didn't think about it much, but after 4 years of studying, I realized, yes, a doctor can be a journalist, a lawyer can be a journalist, and you see that. A lot of people who don't have journalism degrees, they work for CNN, Bloomberg's, they work for BBC's. So, yeah. Very difficult field to survive in.
You know what you're telling me, Majid? I find it so funny because last night my sister had this conversation with me and she was like, I am so sick of you. Do not talk to me anymore. All you speak about is work.
Yeah.
No, seriously, she called me out. She was like, all you speak about is work. Like, talk to me about a show. Talk to me about a song. I'm tired of hearing...
Talk to me about Dubai Bling.
Talk
to me about something else,
That's
right?
seriously what she said to me. She was like, I am sick of you. Do not speak to me about work anymore. But
exactly the same comment from my wife.
Oh, but I think, you know what, Majid? I think it's because we love it. I really
you love
do.
it. See, journalism is one of the passionate jobs in the world, to be honest. If you don't have a passion for journalism, you can't survive in it.
It's not going to work out.
To be honest, it's one of those fields. It's like jumping from skyscrapers. If you don't love the feeling, the adrenaline rush, you won't do it, right?
Oh, you get it.
Like journalism.
I always feel it, by the way. Like, for example, if I'm sitting there at 7 p.m. in you don't understand how these are the things I get jealous over in life, Majid. When I'm sitting there on my couch, it's a weekend, an exciting story comes in.
Yeah.
I know you're all probably thinking I'm such a loser. And I open Click and I see that story. I'm like, I have the urge to just place myself in that situation and be like, I want to write this story right now. And I do it sometimes. But anyways, that's beside the point. We have really exciting topics for you guys today. Firstly, we're going to tell you how the Women's Tennis Association partnered with Saudi Arabia's public investment fund, which is nearly worth $1 trillion. And they're basically creating a maternity fund.
Yeah.
And secondly, we're also going to tell you how Trump is planning to visit Saudi Arabia, but, we wonder why. You're going to find out. And finally, Europe is actually backing the $53 billion Gaza construction plan that was drafted up in Egypt. Now, going back to the first topic, it's actually so beautiful because this is a first. This is extremely historic. For the first time ever, female tennis players are being provided with a maternity fund. Majid, I was not even aware whatsoever that it did not exist for them.
Yeah.
So it's so crazy to hear about it.
Yeah,
but
the problem is with women players and women athletes as a whole, not even tennis players, all the players in the world, they have to go through maternity some point in their life. And the decision to do it and then come back, it's like one of the most difficult. Just coming back to normal life after giving birth is very difficult. It's a long process. You take 2, 3, 4 months to just settle back and get, I'm not a woman, I'm not talking from experience, it's just my wife. I have a kid. So just looking at her going through everything, I was like, we men can't do it. So yeah, first of all, kudos, they do it. And the process is so difficult, it's one of the most beautiful things, giving birth to a new life. But it takes you 3-4 months just to come back, right?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is.
I'm so sorry.
The first time you hold a baby in your arms, you're like, okay, we did this, we made this human beings. It's like a surreal feeling, but the women has to go through so much physically, mentally, psychologically, and then having the added pressure of just not going to normal life, going back to your peak form, your athletic peak form. It's very difficult. So,
No, you know,
and then
Magic,
support in this thing helps them a lot. Takes a lot of pressure off their head.
Yeah, it's not just that. You know, they get to have they get to have such a beautiful career, and I think, you know, work-life balance, it is something that people should have.
Yeah.
It is something that people should earn. We're constantly having this conversation of, you know, should you seek a work-life balance because, you know, you should love your work or whatever. But no, people have the right to have families, have a life outside of just constantly working. So it's beautiful that women get to do this. But the interesting part about all of this is the fact that Saudi is funding it. I think that's what I find really interesting, because if we go back to 2018, you know, there was a time where, you know, they were saying that Saudi Arabia oppresses women.
Yeah.
You know,
they're conservative, they're this, they're
exactly.
that.
And Western media, they were constantly condemning Saudi. And to see the fact that this first over here is provided by Saudi Arabia, I find that so interesting.
No European thought of it, no Western nation thought of it. It's just Saudi Arabia doing what they want to do. They want to tell the world that. To be honest, I hate, there's so many terms that have been linked with Saudi Arabia. There's greenwashing, that they want to do sustainability projects because they want to greenwash, and human rights records and this and that. Then sports washing, yes.
It's crazy.
They just want to be in every sport.
It's crazy how they're saying that every single achievement, basically all these like washing terms, sports washing, greenwashing, what they basically mean is that whatever grand thing that Saudi Arabia is doing, they're doing this grand project to basically cover up for these human rights violations. But that's completely not the case. It's just their economy is expanding, the country is expanding, they're doing so much. But, you know, for me, like this, in particular, seeing this story over here, Majid, it just holds such a like dear place in my heart. Because I remember even like as a kid, like you hear it as among women when there's a girl and she's really good at sports, but then you hear her family saying, okay, but how are you going to lead a family? How is this going to be sustainable for you? So to see that this is being provided for women, it's so beautiful. It's something so beautiful.
I just was reading, I was like, how will it work? Like it's a very complicated issue. How will Saudi Arabia fund it? So there's like a whole list of things that is going to happen. First of all, players who are married, legally married, paper married, they get 12 months of paternity, paid maternity leave, and that's good. But even if you're becoming parents through partner pregnancy, surrogacy, or adoption, the program still offers you 2 months of paid leave. So that's the option. Also, it's a fixed payment, and they didn't disclose the amount, how much the player will get. Good thing is, every player, even if a women player is ranked 312 or something, or if she's the top number one, they all get the same payout. So that's the interesting part. Apart from that,
that's interesting.
Yeah, it's good, right? No, your ranking doesn't say that how much money you'll get. You'll just get it.
Because we all know that, like in a lot of companies, and this is completely normal. What's it called? The bonus that you get, it all depends on your review, your score. So the fact that they're saying that no, you know, whatever your score does not matter in the face of something so beautiful like this, wow, that's really generous.
Then even they're helping, it's not just pregnancy, the fund also will support you for in vitro fertilization, IVF, easy words, and egg freezing also. It's also helping in that, so it's providing you support for that. There's an eligibility criteria as well.
There's egg freezing?
Yeah, that's also.
Magic, do
players
you know
have also access to
expensive?
grants to cover fertility treatments.
Do you know how expensive
IVF,
egg freezing is?
Yeah. So
That is very, no, that is like really expensive. Like, wait, let's just like search this up.
So
Egg
supporting
freezing
family
cost.
planning options beyond pregnancy. That's like the main idea, that they want to not just cover the pregnancy part and just give them money during their leave. They want to help them build a family as well.
Majid, do you know a single egg freezing cycle is $9,000 to $11,000? And by the way, with egg freezing, the more years go on and the more years that these eggs are frozen,
the quality drops, obviously.
It's not about quality dropping. No, you pay more.
Oh,
you
so
pay
it's a
lot.
subscription.
Yeah. You pay a lot of money, and the reason why it's actually interesting that they provided this service over here. The reason why they actually provide it is, and there's women, and I feel for them. Over time they just can't produce that many eggs, so that's why they take up this service. But it's really expensive. The fact that they're offering that, man, I always say Arabs, the Khalijis specifically, they're
Very
so
focused
generous.
on family building.
Family building, but this is another kind of generosity. Egg freezing, I did not expect. I did not expect that.
A player has to play at least 8 WTA tournaments to be eligible for
That's
this. Yeah, and or compete in at least 24 WTA tournaments under the 250 level. So if they're playing under 250 level, which is like the amateur level or the newbie level, they have to play 24 tournaments. And if they're above 250 WTA 250 rankings and above, they have to play 8 tournaments. 320 players are eligible. Nearly, their estimate is 320 women's players are in the circuit in the
Everyone's
WTA
going to be
circuit.
on leave next year.
Yeah, nice. And the program is retroactive. Like it started from January 1, 2025. So anyone who's been going through pregnancy or anything since January 2021, they can apply for it. So yeah, even the players who are on leave because of pregnancy issues, they can apply for it. So that's also good. Again, a lot of technical details, but yeah, one of the best news that we have seen come out of Saudi Arabia's PIF. We always covered their investments into this thing and that thing and that. They're buying Sotheby's, they're buying some Heathrow Airport shares, 18% of that. They're always doing that. But this is like on a very business zero, but human level 100.
Yeah,
right?
and I think it's so beautiful that the way that they timed it, was so perfect because this weekend it was Women's Day. To every single woman who's watching right now, Happy Women's Day to you.
Clapping for women, to be honest.
Let's clap together.
Women in this age and time, they deserve a round of applause and a standing ovation.
But at the same time though, Majid, I do hope that the progress that women are making does not take back from the kind of princess treatment that they deserve.
Yeah.
If that does make sense.
No.
But
I still think women should have all the liberty. It's not ours to give, it's theirs to have. It's not ours to give them any right. It's their right. Everything is their right.
To choose
if they
what
want
they
to
want.
Yeah.
The kind of life that
By
they want to
birth,
lead.
yeah.
I
It's their
agree
right by
with you.
birth.
But I think just on the topic of women, I think it would be nice to just like round up all of the women that, the lovely female entrepreneurs that we discuss all the time. For me, all-time favorite, Sarah Hamouda, founder of the Dubai Viral Chocolate. Right now, she's in Austin, Texas, with the Museum of the Future. Yeah, and it's just it's so crazy to see what she's done. It's women, Majid, are honestly, they're creating some of the best products in the world right now, and they're standing out while doing it. And and for me, by the way, like to see this, like I just find it so crazy. I really find it crazy because I never thought that was a possibility once upon a time. And for me, honestly, what would really excite me is if we see more women in the business world.
Yeah.
We already have a lot. We have Noor Suwaid. She launched the first. She was the first female in the Middle East to launch an IPO. And by the way, I was reading her book and her childhood. It's very interesting. She grew up in America. She grew up in Damascus in Syria,
Nice.
and she also grew up in England. It's just really interesting how the entire like melting pot came together. And I remember even when I met her, Majid, I asked her, I was like, oh, like where did you grow up? And she calls Dubai home. Like the UAE is like her main home. But anyways,
yeah, there's a lot of women, to be honest, in the Middle East that you look up to and you're like, they've done something. We should be proud of them. And even as a man, as a male, sometimes I aspire to them like, oh, they've done great.
But Majid, it does not come as a surprise to me anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like, and I know that obviously my mother, my aunts, my grandparents, they obviously see things differently. You probably see things differently. But for me now, it comes as no surprise. It really comes as no surprise. It's just, that's the expectation now. That's the expectation now, and it's a beautiful expectation. But, let's go to our second topic of the day. Trump. Trump, he's always all over the media. He's everywhere. Majid, every single time I think, he's not going to come back again. He makes it back. So he actually went to Congress and he announced that soon he is going to visit Saudi Arabia. And the reason that he's visiting Saudi Arabia is because he is trying to finalize a $1 trillion deal with the Crown Prince Salman. And the reason why the entire story is so interesting is because we know that in 2018, Trump's first foreign visit as president was to Saudi Arabia. And during that time, they finalized a $350 billion deal. And come now, I remember what happened, and it was reported by Reuters, was that he was offered $600 billion. But, then he went to Davos in Switzerland and he said, no, actually,
let's round it off.
Let's round it off and let's make it $1 trillion. But for me, I where did I see this? I remember, there was, who said this? I remember there was a time where I was listening to the podcast with Prince Al-Walid bin Talal and Tucker Carlson. I've been saying Carl Tuckerson and you never corrected me, Majid. Richard told me. But beside the point, they were sitting together, and basically Al-Walid bin Talal, he told him, he was like, there's this marriage that exists between Trump and Musk. However, the kind of relationship that I would like to say that Trump has with the Middle East, it's an usra, it's a family. That's the kind of relationship that he has with them, with all of them. And the fact that he feels comfortable asking for that $1 trillion, I feel like it really does, signal to the growing confidence that America and Saudi have in each other and investing into each other. And especially that now the Saudi economy is booming.
Yeah.
That this signals such strong investor confidence from someone like Trump. I think that's more complimentary than we realize that it is. But what do you think about it, Majid?
I think Trump is going just to get money out of it.
Of course.
He's not going to plan any investment in Saudi Arabia apart from maybe one Trump Tower is coming in Jeddah. Maybe more Trump towers and maybe more golf courses. The good thing about Trump is he understands who has the money right now, and he knows Saudi Arabia has the money, and that is why he's going there most probably.
He said something so interesting. So when he was basically announcing that he's going to visit Saudi Arabia, he went like, they're getting richer and we're getting older. And I found that so interesting because I think that people don't realize this often enough. But how old is King Salman? How old is he?
He's 40s, I guess, at least. I have no idea.
Let's see. He's 39 years old.
Nearly
he's
40,
39 years old. And how old is Trump?
Trump must be 50 plus, right? Trump must be 50 plus.
Magic.
60?
He's 78 years old.
78?
That's a grandpa. He's a grandpa, and he is a grandpa.
He still looks young for his age. I think
has a lot
whatever
of
you
energy.
do on your face, the Botoxes and all this.
People are always making fun of him. But just going back to Trump.
78.
Never
thought. I thought it was 50 plus.
No, he's old. He's very old.
Nice, but for an old man, he's very active. I've realized, right?
Yeah.
At least he's not as old as Biden, because Biden had, I think, whatever we saw, the videos of him.
I think that's why he stepped down.
Yeah, he was like, sorry, no time to become president again or even compete. But the main highlight of this whole thing is, if this deal happens, if Trump goes to Saudi Arabia, if they sign at least an MOU that we will talk about it later or something, if anything materializes on this whole talk of $1 trillion, it won't be like over 4 years of Trump period. It would be at least 10 years or the next 15 years, because you can't spend $1 trillion
That's
do
what
trade
PIF is worth.
Yeah, you can't
That's
do
what's so
$1
crazy.
trillion of trade with one country that you have no ties with, no trade ties with. US and Saudi Arabia, the biggest trade that they have is in oil. That's it. There is no non-oil trade that happens between Saudi and US. You look at all the things, maybe they send dates there, maybe they'll be sending something else, but majority, 70 to 80% of their trade has been in oil. And now US has new reserves. They don't need Saudi oil. So that is the problem, that where will it invest? Military, I don't think Saudi Arabia wants $1 trillion worth of military equipment. They already have a lot, and they also have different buyers which they buy from. Turkey is
And they
one
have
of the
good
growing
relations
industries.
with all their
Yeah.
neighbors.
Turkey is becoming better at military equipment. China is becoming better at military equipment. Saudi Arabia doesn't want to cut off ties with China because of US. So they have so many options to buy military equipment. Why would they take 1 trillion, even over 15 or 20-year period? They would never buy 1 trillion worth of military equipment. So the specifics, the details of this deal are going to be the most interesting thing.
Majid,
What would you buy for $1
I
trillion
once
from
saw
US?
a very interesting perspective because we did cover this story before on Smashy Business, and
Yeah.
I was reading the commentary that all of you had to say, which was really interesting. And I remember there was this one person who was like, "Oh, let me actually tell you all the way
Yeah.
that this actually works. This number is never actually going to materialize. It's never going to actually happen. It's just a big number, a really big, nice number, which makes big headlines, and it's really good for the media and really good for the status of both countries." It was so interesting what their perspective said. What did you think on that, Majid?
It was a AGPI analysis, I remember, if we did it. And the guy had very similar opinions. He was like, what will you buy? There's nothing you can buy for $1 trillion in 4 years. And if you look at historic data, even he gave a lot of numbers, and I remember some of them, that even in like 2024, recently, the first 9 months, it was like 17 billion of trade, only 17 billion. So you need like a lot of 17 billions to make that $1 trillion mark, right? So he's like, if you're doing in 2024 only 17 billion, in 2023 it was lesser than that, it would take you at least 10 years to do that kind of trade. And Trump will leave after 4 years. I don't think Trump will get reelected.
And not just that.
The way he is doing bad things.
Obviously, it's not there for me to commentate on that,
Yeah.
but I don't think that Trump even deserves this $1 trillion because we are seeing what's happening to Palestine, what's happening to Gaza. And just very recently, Trump proposed this Gaza Riviera plan, this plan for the U.S. to take over Gaza, but the Arab world responded, and they call it the Arab Plan, and they put forward this $53 billion reconstruction plan for Gaza, and European countries are supporting this. European leaders are supporting this, so we are seeing a step forward there. What do you think, Majid?
That's the good thing. The foreign ministers, all the foreign ministers, they issued a statement, a joint statement. It was interesting to see all 4 of them say that they back Arab plan. I think, to be honest, sorry, it's going to be a complicated link that I'm going to build right now. But to understand why they did this, you have to understand US right now is against Ukraine. EU is like the biggest supporter of Ukraine right now. So Europe right now is doing everything anti-Trump. So Trump cancelled the plan, the Riviera plan, denounced this Arab plan. He was like, no, still I will build a Middle Eastern Riviera in Gaza. And that's the statement that came out of the White House, that he rejects the plan. Apart from that, he also had a fight with the Ukraine president in the White House. So whatever Trump is doing, Europe is doing. Europe is on kind of like an antithesis. How would I call it?
Reverse psychology.
It's not reverse
All
psychology.
just reverse psychology.
No. It's an antithesis of whatever Trump says. So Trump ignores Arab plan, $53 billion plan. Europe is like, no, we support it. Trump says no to Ukraine for aid and anything. Europe says, no, we'll do it. Trump puts tariffs on Canada and Mexico. Europe is like, no, we'll do trade with you. So it's a very, like, on a macro level, it's a very political thing that is happening. You remember the story from a Wall Street Journal also, that Europe is now open to working with Syria, rebuilding and helping them extract oil and do trade with them.
They did
but
ease
they didn't help them.
the sanctions.
Yeah. They ease all the sanctions apart from the military sanctions. They're not going to sell them weapons, Syria. But right now, Trump is like, no, I will not remove any sanction from Syria. So even in Syria, Trump is like, I'm not removing any sanctions, and Europe is like, we'll at least remove trade sanctions.
That's a really good perspective, Majid.
So imagine, it's not them caring about the Arab plan, the Gaza, Syria, Lebanon, anything. It's just them going against Trump on
Yeah.
every level possible.
But just on these plans that you all mentioned,
Yeah.
there is so much money that is needed for all these plans, and we very thoroughly covered them on Smashy Business. But I'll just give you guys a rundown. So for Gaza, according to this reconstruction plan that was drafted up in Egypt, they need $53 billion. For Syria, it was a really nice story that Majid did. They need $200 billion, I
not
believe it
200.
was.
Not for Syria, too.
Was it 200 million, 200 billion? Let me
It
check.
was around, it was in billions. Gaza is 53 billion according to Arab Plan. Gaza is $50 billion according to World Bank,
Yeah.
IMF, and UNRWA or UNESCO. One of them was a partner with three. So $50 billion World Bank and IMF thing. Arab nations think 53 billion. I don't know how much Trump thinks he's going to invest to rebuild Gaza into a Riviera that he wants. But it is going to be in that region because the destruction that has been caused by Israel, the bombings and all the
Majid.
bombings using US's weapons.
It is $400 billion.
Just to rebuild Syria.
Yeah, that's the estimated cost to rebuild Syria after 14 years of
of,
all
yeah.
the damage that it went through. Yeah,
Very big number.
$400 billion.
Yeah. But I
So-
think it's for Gaza, it's repair and reconstruction because there's a lot of damage that has been done to building and infrastructure. For Syria, I think it's the infrastructure plus economy as well. Their economy is very bad right now. It's like 2 days ago, I was reading about something, so I just Googled dollar to Syrian pound. It's still at 12,000. In the black market, it's a little less at 10,000. So people are buying from the black market, which also hurts the main economy. So yeah, but still, $1 to 12,000 is a very big difference.
It will take time
So,
to
yeah.
rebuild. It will
So,
take
yeah.
time to rebuild.
And Lebanon
and-
also,
and
yeah,
especially-
11 billion for Lebanon only.
Yeah.
When,
that-
and
11
it was just 2 months of Israel trying to invade them. And in 2 months, they did so much damage that the bill has been like $11 billion now.
And you know, it's crazy, Majid, that the other numbers are so big that it makes $11 billion seem like a small number. But what was I going to tell you? I had a really good point.
To be honest, I would say
Forgot.
Trump, instead of asking Saudi Arabia for $1 trillion, he could go to Israel and be like, you pay for all the damage that you've done to all these countries. And to be honest, you remember this
But
Arab...
it's not in his best interest to do so. It's not in his best interest.
Just asking money for himself, for US instead, he should be telling Israel to build everything.
Because-
Even build the
because
Riviera
Majid-
plan that he has,
Because
right?
Majid,
Fund it.
if we really, speak about it in like simple terms, the greatest thing that I believe any businessman can have is assets,
Yeah.
non-current assets. So non-current assets, land, buildings,
Yeah.
and that's what America wants. They want assets that don't depreciate, and it's in their eyes, in their business eyes, even though that land has been destroyed through a war that they have been waging, it has not depreciated. It's
Yeah.
still land, and it's still land that has a lot of
remember you talked
resources
about,
that they can make use of. Yeah.
Oil reserves that are there on the borders
oil
of
reserves
Gaza
in
and
Palestine.
Palestine, which can be extracted. So yeah, it's an area of interest, not only because it's been destroyed and you can rebuild it again. It's an area of interest because of the natural resources. It's an area of interest because of tourism potential. It's one of the most beautiful places on the planet. So if you can rebuild it, and
Majid,
there's
there-
like every potential in that
their
place.
olive oil. Let me tell you, Palestinian olive oil.
Yeah,
I,
it's one of the best. I know.
It is like. Have you ever tried it? Have you ever
No,
tried it?
you would not believe it how I tasted it. There is a show. There's this guy Mo Islam or Mo something.
I think I heard
He
of
has
him.
a show on Netflix, and the second season just came out. And in the first season, he describes the
That's how you tasted it?
Palestinian, and the way he described it. It's not a documentary. He's just talking to a guy in the supermarket, trying to sell it to him. And the way he describes it, and then he tells him to taste it, I literally could feel it in my mouth. Like, okay,
Yeah.
maybe this is
I,
like the
I
best.
tried it out because
Yeah.
I remember when I used to be a kid, we had this Jordanian neighbor,
Oh,
and
nice.
they'd always like bring us olives and olive oil back with them from Jordan. But that olive oil, they had specifically gotten it from Palestine, and honestly, Majid, that olive oil is so good that you will pour that oil and you'll just have it with simple bread.
Yeah.
That's how good it is.
Exactly. That's the way he.
That's how good it is.
Sells the oil to that guy in the supermarket. It's like don't do anything. Just dip this bread in this olive oil. and eat it. That's the only thing you need. I remember now. It's Mo Amer. He has a Netflix series, Mo. He got the first season. There were rumors that it won't happen, but now the second season came out. I have to see it. I didn't see the
Wait,
second
what's the
season.
show called?
Mo. M-O,
Oh, just Mo?
Yeah, and the guy, his name is Mo Amer. He's a very famous stand-up comedian, but then now he's done a show with Netflix. But yeah, I'll show you that clip, and you'll be
Please
like,
do.
yes, you've tasted it, so you'll feel it more than me.
Please do,
So, yeah.
please do. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. This is Smashy Business Show, a Smashy Business production under the Augustus Media Podcast Network. You can find our newsletter on Smashy TV, where we cover everything more comprehensively. Have a lovely start to your week. Bye.